Welcome to the deep dive. Today, we're jumping into the pretty complex world of privacy and data security standards.
That's right. We've got a mix of legal and regulatory info here.
And our mission really is to pull out the key things you need to grasp without getting totally lost in the jargon.
Exactly. It's a constant balancing act. We need to share data, obviously, but we absolutely have to keep it secure. It's a real tightrope.
Okay, so let's kick off with data privacy itself. Why these laws? What's the fundamental point?
Well, think about it. They're there to protect your private life, fundamentally,
Huh.
and to build trust.
Rust.
Yeah, trust. When you give your details to your bank or, say, your doctor, you have to trust they'll keep it safe. So these laws set rules for how companies can collect, use, process, store your data.
So it's about transparency and control.
Mostly, yes. Being clear about what's collected, keeping it confidential, limiting who sees it, those are the core ideas.
It's interesting, though, how different places tackle this. Our sources show the US and EU are quite different.
Oh, definitely. It's pretty stark contrast, actually. The U.S. tends to have laws for specific sectors, HIPAA for healthcare, rules for finance, federal agencies.
More like silos.
Kind of, yeah. Whereas the EU went broad with GDPR, one big law covering almost all personal data.
Although we are seeing some states in the US, like California, moving towards more general rules now.
We are, slowly. But the basic approach, that philosophy, is still quite distinct.
And all this regulation makes sense when you think about data breaches. They seem constant.
They really do. I mean, the internet, the cloud, it means so much more data is flowing, being stored electronically. That just creates more chances for things to go wrong.
And these breaches aren't always hackers and hoods, right?
Not at all. They fall into two main camps, really.
Oh.
Unintentional, like someone makes a mistake, negligence, maybe clicks the wrong link.
Mm.
And then, yes, the intentional ones, malicious actors trying to steal data.
The consequences sounds significant for everyone involved.
Oh, they are. For companies, it can mean stopping business, massive reputational damage, huge financial hits. One IBM report mentioned an average cost over $4 million.
Wow. That covers a lot, I assume.
It does. Finding the breach, notifying people, the response afterwards, lost business, revenue,
Right.
not to mention potential legal trouble.
And for us, the consumers.
It's exposure. Your name, address, maybe social security number, bank details.
Mhm.
It puts you at serious risk of identity theft, financial fraud. It's scary stuff.
Okay, let's maybe dig into some specific regulations. IPAA comes up a lot for healthcare in the US.
Right. IPA, Health Insurance Portability and Accountability Act. Its main goal was setting national standards for healthcare privacy and security. This gave us the privacy rule and the security rule.
So the privacy rule is about the information itself.
Exactly. It governs what's called PHI, Protected Health Information. It applies to covered entities. Think healthcare providers who send info electronically, health plans, clearinghouses.
And companies that work with them.
Yes, business associates. Like, say, a company that does billing for a hospital. They have to follow the rules, too.
And it says when they can share our health info.
Precisely. There are permitted uses without your explicit okay things like treatment, getting paid for services, general healthcare operations. You can also get your own info, obviously.
What about research?
Yes, but usually only if the data is redacted or anonymized, so it can't be linked back to you. Or for specific public interest activities. Otherwise, they need your authorization.
Got it. Then there's a security rule. That sounds more technical.
It is. It focuses specifically on electronic PHI, or ePHI. It demands confidentiality, integrity, and availability of that data.
CIA, the classic security triad.
The very same. It requires safeguards, administrative, physical, and technical measures.
Like what, for example?
Well, administrative might be security training, having plans for incidents. Physical means securing buildings, workstations, laptops. Technical involves things like access controls, who can see what audit logs, and encryption.
Encryption scrambling the data.
Essentially, yes, making it unreadable without the right key. Crucial for protecting data both when stored and when it's sent somewhere.
Then ATEC came along later.
Right, 2009, the HIPAA Act. It was really meant to push the adoption of health IT electronic records.
And it changed IPAA how?
It definitely strengthened it. Penalties for violations went up. Patients got the right to get electronic copies of their records, and it made those business associates directly liable.
And didn't add something about breaches.
Ah, yes, a really big one. The breach notification rule. It mandates notifying affected individuals within 60 days if their unsecured PHI is breached. That was significant.
Okay, shifting continents, GDPR in Europe. Sounds like a game changer.
It really was, and its impact is global. It's
Yeah.
the EU's main data privacy law, effective May 2018. It sets very strict conditions for processing personal data. You need a lawful basis, like consent or a legal need.
And the penalties are serious.
Extremely serious. We're talking potentially millions of euros in fines. It's got teeth. And crucially, its scope is extraterritorial.
Meaning it applies outside the EU too.
In many cases, yes. If a company anywhere processes data for its EU operations, or if a non-EU company offers goods or services to people in the EU, or even just monitors their online behavior, GDPR likely applies.
Wow. And it has core principles.
6 key ones. Data processing must be lawful, fair, and transparent. Purpose limitation, collect only for specific reasons. Data minimization, only collect what's needed. Accuracy, keep data correct. Storage limitation, don't keep it forever. And integrity, confidentiality, keep it secure.
We also saw Privacy Shield mentioned. What was that?
Privacy Shield. That was basically an attempt to create a legal way for companies to transfer personal data between the EU and the US after the previous agreement, Safe Harbor, was invalidated.
But Privacy Shield didn't last either.
No, the EU court struck it down too back in July 2020. It created, well, a lot of uncertainty for transatlantic data flows that still exists.
So what are companies doing now?
It's complicated. For now, the U.S. Federal Trade Commission, the FTC, still expects U.S. companies that signed up to Privacy Shield to continue honoring those commitments. But the EU doesn't see it as a valid transfer mechanism anymore. It's messy.
Okay, one more major standard. PCI DSS. This is about payments.
Exactly. Payment Card Industry Data Security Standard. This wasn't created by governments, but by the major payment card brands themselves, Visa, MasterCard, Amex, etc.
To protect cardholder data.
Precisely. With cashless payments booming, they needed a common set of rules. PCI DSS provides a framework, 12 main requirements grouped under 6 goals for any entity that stores, processes, or transmits cardholder data.
So retailers? Thanks.
Yep. Retailers, the banks that handle merchant accounts, acquiring banks, the card networks themselves, the banks that issue the cards, issuing banks, the whole chain.
And those requirements are quite detailed, I imagine.
They are. They cover things like building secure networks, protecting stored card data, often through encryption, maintaining vulnerability management, like using antivirus, implementing strong access control.
Access control like passwords.
Passwords, yes, but also things like multi-factor authentication, or MFA, needing more than just a password to get in. Also restricting physical access, monitoring network traffic, regular testing, and having a formal security policy. It's comprehensive.
So it touches every point from when I tap my card to when the payment settles.
Pretty much. Encryption in transit, encryption at rest, secure systems, monitored access it aims to lock down the data throughout the process.
Okay, so we've covered a fair bit of ground here, from the why of privacy laws and the different US-EU takes to the very real risks of breaches, and then digging into HIPAA, high-tech, GDPR, and PCI DSS specifically.
It's definitely a complex landscape. Different rules, different scopes, but all aiming, in theory, to protect sensitive information.
It really underscores how interconnected privacy and security are in our modern world. Keeping data safe isn't just one thing, it's many layers.
Which kind of leaves us with a big question, really, something for you, the listener, to think about. In this world that runs on data, how can we, both as individuals and the organizations we interact with, proactively manage all these rules and standards to actually ensure our data is both private and secure?
That's a challenging thought to end on. There's no easy answer there.
Not at all. It requires constant vigilance, adaptation, and really understanding what's at stake.